Design Notes is a show about creative work and what it teaches us. I'm your host, Liam Spradlin. Each episode, I talk with people from unique creative fields to discover what inspires and unites us in our practice. This episode is part of a special series of 4 interviews with the winners of this year's Material Design Awards, exploring what goes into creating an award-winning app.
I think technology can make something that is quite monotonous and make it a more engaging experience, a bit more vibrant and interactive.
That was Thomas Ingbrand, a product designer at Drops, whose Scripts app won this year's award for experience, with creative interactions, navigation, and content presentation. In the interview, I spoke with the Scripts team about using a color system to create a unique experience while expressing identity and building interactions that make users feel accomplished right away. Let's get started. All right, Maya, Thomas, welcome to Design Notes.
Thank you very much.
So I want to start off by getting the history of Scripts, both as a product and its design direction.
Yeah, so Scripts is an app that anyone can use who wants to learn to read and write in a new language, in a new alphabet or a new character-based writing system. Scripts is our second app, so with Scripts we're sort of like expanding our learning platform, and now we have an app that is completely focused on teaching how to read and write. I think the main thing with Scripts is that we're trying to make it very interactive and fun to learn and very effortless.
How would you define Scripts' identity, and how does that come through in the app?
Everything about Scripts is trying to make it easy to form a habit of learning. So we do this by a couple of different things. One, we're trying to keep the daily learning sessions short. So you practice for 5 minutes every day. And usually, even if you have a very packed schedule, you can usually find 5 minutes to practice every day. Also, these sessions are quite fun and interactive, so you're drawing the characters and it's a pretty enjoyable experience. Finally, the look and feel of the app is quite colorful and vibrant, and I think that just brings a pretty positive experience to the whole thing.
So Scripts won the award for experience, and I'd like to know a little bit more about how Scripts has created this unique experience with writing characters and learning new writing systems.
The way we teach character drawing in Scripts is literally by drawing on the screen. So you'll be using your finger and following sort of like these stencils in the app. And in the beginning it's going to be quite easy, so you'll be getting a lot of guidance on like how to draw each character. But as you go along, some of these sort of guides are going to start going away and it's going to be harder and harder. And all of this is really meant to sort of like build up your muscle memory in drawing these characters. Also, some of the characters that we are teaching in Scripts, each character has a specific meaning. And when that is the case, we actually have sort of a visual representation for that character. So we show a faint image of what the character means underneath the character. So an example of that would be the character that means tree or wood in Chinese. When you're drawing it, you will be seeing like a faint image of a tree underneath the character. And this really sort of like reinforces your understanding of the character as you're drawing it, as well as your recognizable shape that you're drawing.
Yeah, because you know the character actually is shaped similarly, what it means. So it just reinforces that.
Something that stands out to me from a visual design perspective is this system of color and gradients in the app. And I'm interested in learning more about how you think about that and what the system is like.
The colors in the app serves 2 main purposes. One, I think it changes your mindset from it being like a chore or like a productivity task to being quite joyful and colorful. So it brings that sort of like game-like experience to it. And then we also map colors to different stages in your learning. So depending on the difficulty level of the character that you're drawing, we will have a specific color for that type of game interaction.
From a brand perspective, I think it's also a very easy way to, like, when you have the app open, you know it's the Scripts app you have open, because every screen will have a very unique way of looking, has these colors, these gradients. So it's just from a brand point of view, it's really to reinforce even your image of Scripts.
I'm also interested in the connection between learning to write characters that have specific stroke orders and doing that on screen using your fingertips, and then carrying that knowledge over to off screen where you would actually be writing it with writing implements.
In certain languages, like the order of the strokes is paramount. So when that is the case, we actually show you like a number and a dotted line, and it's a sequence of drawing the characters, or like the lines in the character. And by doing this and like over and over and over again, you're building up your muscle memory, not only like the shape of the character, but also like the sequence of the strokes. And that comes across when you're done moving from the screen over to like a physical media.
We realize that everyone uses their phones or their laptops to write these days. Like handwriting is still a thing, but most of the time we use our devices, and swiping is just such an everyday interaction these days that I think it's just a very nice connection that we teach something in such a digital way that you can later take and use even in an offline setting. I just think it's a very nice feedback we had from actually someone in-house in the team that they have dysgraphia. And they said that for them, being able to write on a screen where actually like learning the character is on a bigger scale as well, like if you would just write it on a paper, it makes it so much easier to learn it than if they had to write it on a paper with a pencil.
So even if you carry that knowledge over to typing on a laptop, having that kind of intimate familiarity with how the character is structured is really helpful.
I think so.
Do you think that there are other unique challenges to learning a new writing system that are uniquely addressed by technology or by touchscreens?
Yeah, I think technology can make something that is quite monotonous and make it a more engaging experience, a bit more vibrant and interactive. So I think that's a pretty big thing, is moving it from like being quite a short to pretty joyful experience. I think also the way I see it is like your phone is probably the thing that a lot of people, it would be the least likely thing to forget when you're walking out the door. So I think that combined with short, fun learning experiences makes it a pretty likely chance that you will form this habit of learning using technology.
And you don't need any other tools. If you have your phone, you're set.
I'm interested in some of the smaller ingredients that go into building an engaging experience in terms of things like haptic feedback or animations. How do you see those contributing to reinforcing learning?
We use both haptic feedback and animation to just bring context to the drawing. So for example, when we first present the character to you in the app, we there's like an animation of the character being drawn in front of you. And I think that sort of like primes you on like, okay, soon I will be drawing this myself. And also gives you like a rudimentary understanding of like how it's being drawn. And then when you actually draw it yourself, we have haptic feedback at the beginning of a stroke and also at the end of a stroke. And I think that just gives you a better sense of what's going on with the system and how it's reacting to your finger when you're drawing. We also have haptic feedback and animations when you make a mistake in a drawing and it's sort of like shaking his head and, giving you that sense of, what's going on, and then you can correct.
Something else that I noticed when I was trying out the app was that as I went through actually drawing characters, the app made me feel like I was doing a really good job because it took the stroke that I drew and kind of smoothed it out and made it into the right shape. So I'm really interested in little small touches like that kind of make the user feel like they're doing really well.
Yeah, a lot of it is probably like building up your confidence. So we're not trying to drop you in the deep end right away. It's sort of like a gradual progression of ramping up the difficulty. And I think that can just like give you a little confidence boost at the beginning of drawing.
Yeah, which is actually my favorite thing about the app is this, that at first you already look like a pro doing it. So even people who think like, oh, I would never be able to learn this and that alphabet because I just don't have the talent to draw like that even. I think it's a very encouraging way to get started by seeing that, oh my God, I'm doing well. And then later on, as you are given more freedom, then you can actually see that you did learn how to write these characters.
Another interesting point is that as a person whose native language is written in a Latin script, I feel like often when learning new languages that also use the Latin script, writing is not necessarily something that comes to the front of my mind. So I'm interested in how you think about the relationship of learning a language and learning to write.
Yeah, I think basically both, let's say, like learning to write and learning, let's say, like vocabulary, which we also teach with our other app. Both of these are core fundamental building blocks of language learning. And I think basically no single app or no single experience will get you all of the way there with learning a language. But I think having these focused experiences and building up these skills independently in many different ways can really help you get there.
Something that I like to ask everyone is about the future. So I'm interested in the areas that you see Scripts design moving into in the future as technology develops and all of that.
Something that we did very recently was to release ASL in the app, which is moving us in a slightly new direction. So ASL is the American Sign Language for the deaf community. And with it, we actually worked with an illustration artist called Jikikao Wang from Godet University, and she's deaf herself. And the way she drew the illustrations had just all of the depth in the knowledge of the details that I think only someone who's like deeply familiar with the nuances of it would be able to do. I think taking it in this direction and working closely with other collaborators is probably something we want to keep doing.
All right, well, thank you both for joining me.
Cool, thank you very much.
Thank you.
From Google Design and the Material Design team, I'd like to take a moment to thank all of the Material Design Award winners for sharing with me the details, challenges, and considerations behind each of their apps. If you want to hear more about Material, follow @Material Design on Twitter, and read more about the awards at design.google. Make sure to check out the rest of the episodes in our special series with the Material Design Award winners, and stay tuned so you don't miss our next episode. You can subscribe to Design Notes on Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a review on iTunes and listen for shout out in the next episode, or let us know how we're doing with an email to design@google.com. Thanks for listening.